This morning I begin in Romans, the 13th chapter. It's always fascinated me how God talks about government and what the Bible has to say about government. But the 13th chapter of Romans is the most descriptive passage that I know in the Bible. The Apostle Paul is writing to Roman Christians. Now, Rome wasn't a friend of Christianity. Rome persecuted Christians. Rome killed Christians. Rome took possessions from Christians. And it wasn't going to get any better anytime soon, as Paul writes it. Paul himself is going to die at the hands of Rome. Others had died similarly. John the Baptist had been beheaded by Rome, and many Christians had suffered death at the hands of Rome. And so we need to keep that in mind as we read Romans, the 13th chapter. Paul says, "Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers." Everybody is to respect government, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. God has obviously intended for there to be government powers. In the Old Testament, God often put men in charge of kingdoms. He would raise up his leaders to lead their people, so that the Jews came to understand that God was in charge. God raised up nations and brought about the fall of nations. And so for every soul to be subject to government powers, for there is no power but of God. Power is authority. God allows a part of his authority to reside in government agencies. Therefore, whosoever therefore resists the power, rebels against the power, stands against the power, resists the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. God holds man accountable for his response to government. We know that the early apostles, according to Acts, the 5th chapter, were brought in and told not to preach Jesus by the authorities, and their response was, "We cannot but obey God rather than man." So we understand that God's authority is above that of government. Always has been, always will be. And what God has commanded us is to come first and foremost in our lives. But beyond that, below that, whoever resists the government resists the ordinance of God, and shall receive to themselves damnation. Those are strong words from Paul, who spent much of his time in a Roman prison, of all things. For he says, "For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil." And as we've noted with the apostles, that's not always the case, but generally speaking, people who follow the law, respect authority, and try to do good to their fellow man are not in fear of government. Those who fear the government are those who are disobedient to the laws of man, who are immoral, who harm other people and cause disruption. But those who do good should be recommended by government. Not always true, but sometimes. And as I read these words, I think to myself, can you imagine living under a time of Hitler in Germany? What did German Christians do with them? They had to respect the government. They had to respect Hitler, who was appointed to office. But at the same time, they couldn't reject God and the commands of God. So there were things that they could follow and things that they could not possibly follow. It had to be a difficult time. But verse 4, he says, the government is a minister of God to thee for good. We're better off with it. Sometimes you wonder, don't you? If we didn't have any government, what would happen? It would be the law of the jungle. To the strongest and the one with the fastest gun goes all the spoils. Things would be chaotic. Things would be a mess. And all the complaints we may have against government, thanks be to God, at least our government is based upon the desires of the citizens of our country. Sometimes those desires aren't good. Sometimes our citizens cast their vote the wrong way. But at least there is the choice. Many places have no choice. But notice he says, the government is a minister of God to thee for good. If you do that which is evil, be afraid. For he bears not the sword in vain. God has authorized government powers to execute people. The sword is not used particularly. The sword was never intended to be some kind of reward system. If you go back to the book of Genesis, chapter 9 and verse 6, just one of the things that God has always ordered to be done. Genesis 9 and verse 6, God told Moses, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by him shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. God even goes ahead as much as to say, even if a beast takes a man's life, he is to forfeit his life. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. No one is exempt from the sword of justice. Now that sword has been bent, it's been rusted, it's been laid away, but it's there. Government has the power to punish. And the punishment of government serves as the servant of God. God doesn't kill people who deserve to be killed. He could, and he has. Look at Ananias and Sapphira. But rather, he's turned that over to government and allowed government to bear the sword, not in vain, but with intent. There are times when God desires men to forfeit their lives. And that is the work of the sword. But I want you to notice what he says. He is the minister of God, a revenger, to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. The vengeance toward those who do evil is to be carried out by government. Look with me at Romans 12 and verse 19. Earlier, Paul had said this, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place in the wrath. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. And so in the very next chapter, a few verses later, he says God has authorized government to be the avenger. Somebody does something that's wrong, they have the right to punish them. I don't have that right. I'm not to avenge evil. But the government does have that right. And therefore, government is a minister of God to execute wrath upon those who do evil. Wherefore, you must needs be subject. Therefore, because the role of government, we as Christians should respect government and be subject to government. That means we need to defend government and not rebel against government and not oppose government per se. Only those things that may be wrong in line with government. So, he then says in verse 6, this is why we pay tribute. That's taxes. We pay taxes to support an army, a navy, Marines, National Guard. policemen, dog catchers. It goes on and on. Wow. We need those people. We need those people to protect the good from the evil and to execute judgment and vengeance against those who would destroy those about them. We pay tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. I wouldn't have time to defend our country by myself. I wouldn't be able to. I alone could not take on that task. And so, we need government for that. And so he says in verse 7, render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute, that's taxes, custom to whom custom, and fear to whom fear, and honor to whom honor. In Matthew chapter 22, Jesus is asked the question, should we pay taxes to Caesar? Matthew 22 and verse 21, Jesus said, show me a coin. On that coin was the image of the emperor of Rome. And Jesus' response was, render to Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto God that which is God. Caesar deserves support. Caesar deserves taxation. Caesar deserves honor. Not because he's the most moral man that ever lived. Forget that. The Caesars were notoriously evil and wicked and killed sometimes their own family members for fun. Not that. But he is a minister of God as ruler. And he has something coming. He has a right to your taxes. And so Jesus even paid taxes to the Roman government. And that's always amazed me. God, who created all things, ends up paying taxes, money, to a pagan government. Really? I don't think he had to. I don't think it was something that was even fair or right. But Jesus submitted himself to government because it was ordained of God. God wants there to be government. And I think every country today who struggles with overthrowing their government needs to be very careful. The government they presently have may not be what's right, may not be doing a good job, may be causing tremendous difficulty, but they need to realize that government is necessary. Some government must exist. Otherwise, complete chaos breaks out. And so, this morning I want to talk a little bit about our protectors, our people who represent the authority of government. And it's interesting, this week I looked up in Webster's dictionary the definition of the word veteran. You know what it says first? It says it's from the Latin, which means old. Means old. I guess maybe that explains why I keep getting letters from the Veterans Administration. I never served in the military in my life. But they know I'm old, and so they're sending me those letters and want me to sign up for this and that. But the word veteran carries with it the idea of those who by age and experience have been through a role of protecting their country. And that's why we have Veterans Day. It's a time to honor the veterans. Well, that's exactly what Paul would stand for in Romans the 13th chapter. There is the respect that is due to those who are veterans. Honor to whom honor, tribute to whom tribute. It's a good thing that those who have fought to protect our country did so at the risk of their own lives, sacrificing much of their own life, many times the best years of their life in doing so, that they should receive from us honor and respect and tribute. That only makes sense. You couldn't do it yourself. I couldn't win World War II alone. I couldn't win the battles in Iraq or Afghanistan. But we have those of government who can and who have. And they're deserving of all of our honor and respect because they've gone the extra mile. They have sacrificed, many of them their own lives, in order to protect us. But you know, it concerns me that many times government officials are not honored. The word honor means to value someone, to esteem them highly. Now, the word honor is used of wives honoring their husband, is used of children honoring their parents, is used of congregations honoring those who serve as elders. And every one of those terms is the same. It means to esteem, to look up to honor, respect. And I don't really care what type of person we may be. For example, when it comes to children honoring their parents, I've known some kids who had some of the worst parents in the world. They didn't always agree with them. They oftentimes realized that their parents were wrong, and so they didn't live that way their own lives. But you know what? They still were to honor them, to value them, to esteem them, to at least count them as valuable. Our society's encountered a lot of problems because children have grown up not honoring their parents, not respecting them. The same is true of husbands and wives. You may not always agree. Matter of fact, you won't. You're human beings. You won't always see everything eye to eye. But what do? You still honor them. You still respect them. You still esteem them as valuable. And therefore, you work out what differences there are, and you make amends, and you cooperate. And that's necessary. Well, let's take government, for example. How is it that we are to honor government? Well, you may not agree with what the government's doing. You may not like what the Congress voted on or what the President suggests. You may not like what the police department did last time or how the firemen organized or did whatever they did. But what? They still are worth honor. They're still worth encouragement. And it really bothers me, when people throw things at policemen who are not intending them any harm. It really bothers me when people curse at government officials. Or like the judge I heard about some time ago who was going out of the courthouse into his car and somebody drove by and tried to shoot him and he was packing heat and he pulled it out and killed him. Had to protect himself. He was a judge. What in the world? Disrespect. The police say, stop. They run faster. The police say, get out of the car. No, I'm not going to. All kinds of problems in civilian. You have all kinds of things to deal with. But honor, just simply to esteem them for what their position is. I believe any citizen has a right to malign or vulgarly speak of any elected official. I don't think we have that right. We can complain and we can sign a petition and we can call in or write in. I've done that some. And disagree. But to honor them means to respect them for their position, for their role. Our society is quickly losing that in regard to all government officials. Just the other day I read the police department's having a very difficult time hiring policemen. You know why? They don't want to be disrespected. They get tired of having things thrown out. They get tired of being cussed at and disobeyed. Firemen the same way. The other day I read of some firemen putting out a fire somewhere and people started throwing things. Really? They're here to put the fire out, dummy. And then there was a case of a fireman who died at his work, trying to put a fire out, and he was killed. And people boycotted the funeral and said he didn't deserve an honorable funeral. Really? You're a kid, right? That's ridiculous. But now we turn our thoughts to Jesus Christ. In John the 15th chapter, Jesus had this to say, beginning in verse 12. John 15 and verse 12, he says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." Many of those who work for the government have done just that. A kneeling soldier with this caption fits well, but just not too long ago, soldier was awarded a Medal of Honor. And the story goes that he was under ambush in Afghanistan. And his whole troop was under heavy fire with no help in sight. He was wounded himself, but one after the other, he went and drug all those men to safety. He saved all their lives. How do you think those other soldiers feel about him from now on? What do you think they feel they owe him from now on? He risked his life to save them. No greater love hath any man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friend. And there are firemen and policemen and soldiers that do that every day. Every day. Jesus then continues and says, "Ye are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knows not what his Lord does. But I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. And whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you." Jesus Christ laid down his life for us. Not in a burning building, not out on the ocean, not somewhere on the battleground, but he came. In John the 10th chapter, Jesus said, "I am the good shepherd, and I lay down my life for the sheep." He took the bullet that was meant for us. He took upon himself the punishment that was rightfully ours. And he became our protector in that sense. We often sing the song, "I gave my life for thee. What hast thou done for me?" That's what Jesus is talking about. And even in this context, he said, "You're my friends if you do whatever I command you." Here's what you can do now, since I've laid down my life for you. You can become obedient unto my command. So we go back down to chapter 14 and verse 21. And Jesus explains this. He said, "He that hath my commandments and keeps them, he it is that loves me. And he that loves me shall be loved of my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself unto him." And then in verse 23, Jesus responded and said, "If a man love me, he'll keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. But he that loveth me not keeps not my commandments, and the words which you hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me." I'd like you to think a moment about what Paul said in Romans 13. What they have done to government and the powers that are ordained to God, they have done to God. Jesus said the same here. If you will respect me, then you respect my Father. I lay down my life for you. Now you are to keep my words. And if you do, my Father will honor you. If we respect those who are over us in authority, then good things will happen. whether it be obedience to our parents, whether it be honor and respect due to government officials, whether it would be honor and respect for the soldiers. In every case, we show our appreciation by how we treat them and how we respect them. The story was told many, many years ago, and it's told by a gospel preacher who was preaching in a meeting in the city of Chicago. And during the week, he made his way out to a park in Chicago, and on the edge of the park there was a cemetery. And so as he was walking, getting his exercise, he saw a young lady come with a bunch of flowers. And she approached the cemetery, went to a particular stone, and she placed those flowers there. And she stood there quite quietly. Well, he got pretty interested in what was happening and wanted to know the story, so he approached the young lady and struck up a conversation. And she said when she was a little girl, she happened to be in a house that was burning to the ground. And she said there was no way out. And she said there was one fireman who took off and entered that building. And she said he wrapped his arms around me and he drug me out of those flames. And he saved me. And she said it wasn't a few days later that fireman died from his injuries. And she said every year at this time, I come and bring flowers to his grave. He died so that I might live. Think about that. Think of all those who have died that we might live. Think of Jesus who suffered and died at Calvary so that we might live. Do we feel any responsibility? Do we feel any conscience at all? Do we think about what is due, what is honorable, what is right? These are people that don't have to do what they do, but they did it anyway. And they deserve our honor and our respect. May God help us to respect His Son in a similar way for what He's done for us as we stand together.